I have the story from Newsweek, and it is one of the greatest headlines I've ever seen the fake news publish. John Fetterman's question at Senate hearing leaves witness speechless. And
Not in the way that you think. Not in the way that Newsweek would have you believe.
And this is exactly it. They want you to believe that his question was so good, so strong, that the witness was like, how do I have nothing to say. Yeah. When in reality, what happened was John Fetterman didn't say anything coherent at all. Can
you play it?
Sputtering.
Can you play it? Because, like...
How much you want to bet they didn't put it in the article?
Oh, my gosh.
Almost without question.
At the top.
Here, let's go to
No, I know, but, like, is it actually going to be in it?
They went to go to Hawaii's after there was a crash of your bank, and I couldn't believe it. So I went up on the internet, and it's like, it did happen. And that's in Fortune. The second biggest bank in U.S. history collapsed, and chose to go to Hawaii.
This isn't the good part yet,
Yeah,
though.
I've never been to Hawaii.
I don't think they're going to show it.
I think you're right. I think they're going to...
crashed a bank, So given that I'm the last person, I don't have much left to ask, but I will, let me ask you this one particular question.
Oh, I think they're going there.
To put to everyone here on that. And is it an inside joke? No matter how incompetent or how greedy, the government will always bail you out when your bank crashes. I mean, everyone has to know that, right? Everyone has to realize that no matter how bad I behave, no matter how big my race is, my bonuses and everything, we will come in and bail it because we can't crash the economy, much the way SVB was argued that it was going to crash.
What did he just say?
I have no idea. I actually
that's not even the crazy part.
I did a short. That's not the crazy part because I did one. There's a minute and 10 seconds. I just did a commentary for Facebook and social on it, and I'll do it on the podcast tomorrow, I guess. But it's a minute and 10 seconds of utter insanity. And Fetterman, I've spent a lot of time on this one because I'm one of the few guys. I've been called, not a racist on John Fetterman, but I was called an ableist. Because I went after him.
Which is them admitting he's disabled, by the way.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, for those of you who don't know, that means you discriminate against those with disabilities. And I just don't think it's ever going to be popular with the American people to not expect basic cognitive function from a United States senator. This is someone who could vote to send your children to war. It's someone who's voting on trillions of dollars and he'll rubber stamp the Democrat thing. Do you have the actual quote?
Yeah, you want to play?
Yeah, play it. It's just too good.
Is it a staggering responsibility that the head of a bank could literally crash our economy? It's astonishing. That's like if you have, and they also realize is that now they have a guaranteed way to be saved. By how, so it's isn't it appropriate that this kind of control should be more stricter?
Speechless.
To prevent this kind of thing from going, or should we just go on and start bailing and sailing whoever bank, regardless of how their
rarer
conduct is?
Like when you're trying to talk to a girl you like, you get nervous.
What I love how his look at the guy's like, oh, he can't respond. I'm like, because you're an imbecile.
The Republicans want to give a work requirement for SNAP. For a hungry family has to have this kind of penalties or some kinds of working required. Shouldn't you have a working requirement after we sail your bank with billions of your bank? Because they seem to be more preoccupied than SNAP. And requirements for works for hungry people, but not about protecting the taxpayers, that will bail no matter whatever does about a bank to crash it.
What?
Yeah. By the way, don't forget the media. When he got elected, the media was happy to say, hey, this is a guy that could be for 2024. Now we have an imbecile in office right now, so why should we hold a senator to a higher standard than the president? But
I want everybody to remember what you just heard from this man, and I want to show it what Newsweek wrote.
Yes.
Here's what Newsweek writes, quote, Republicans want a work requirement for SNAP for hungry families. Shouldn't you have a working requirement after we bail out your bank? Fetterman asked at the end of the hearing. He didn't say those words.
Those were not the words that came out of his mouth at all.
Not even a little bit those words. The Washington Post did the same thing, where they The guy, I guess, did a correction. Well, yesterday I tweeted a quote provided to me by the senator's office without checking it against the video, because he gave this glowing quote that actually made sense. I don't necessarily agree with, what was in it, but
it's what they wrote.
It flowed. It's what they wrote. And they're just covering it. And again, I know they'll call me an ableist once again, but I do not think it's unreasonable for the American public, the voting public, to expect basic cognitive function. This is a United States senator, guys. This is not someone, and I don't think you'd let Joe Biden do it either, but you wouldn't let this guy drive you in an Uber car.
When Joe Biden gets lost on stage and is confused, there is something sad about it because he is so pathetic in that way.
That's the hard part. That's why it was easy to get people to hate Hillary. It's hard. No, it's hard to hate Joe Biden. Whether the corrupt, you look at him, you can't. If you're human, you can't help but feel bad for him. Because you realize he has no idea where he is.
It's the same thing with John Fetterman. He is so clearly trying to recall. I mean, a lot of officials memorize their statement that they're going to have. That's not unusual. Yeah. But he is struggling so desperately to recall what he is supposed to be saying. Not just I'm getting stage fright, I'm forgetting my lines. He is not there. And in some ways, that is unnerving that there's a group of people who can see this person who's clearly sick and suffering and saying, go out there and try and,
and that's
wear
why
the suit and hit the talking points.
He's being used as a pawn because he's not hated like a Hillary was, right? Now, I'd argue that he's probably far more effective in actually delivering some of the insanity of the radical left policies because he'll sign anything you put in front of him. Because he does not know where he is, he's also incapable of reasoning about... No, but hear me out.
No, I think you're right.
Whoever is in charge, whether it's Obama, whether it's Susan Rice, whether it's one of these radicals, Obama felt the same way. But he just wasn't going to destroy his legacy signing this stuff in. They're happy to throw Joe under the bus because, what's his legacy going to be? But they're actually furthering that insanity. Do we really believe that, an 85-year-old Irish Catholic guy, the trans thing, it's the social justice cause of this generation? I don't know. I don't think anyone believes that. But he'll say it. I certainly don't think an Irish Catholic believes that stuff.
Well, you're certainly not allowed to. Yeah. But you're not a real Catholic if you believe you should transition kids. That's not even a question, right? That's not even a only question. Catholics do not believe in transgenderism at all.
But he's also pro-abortion.
And he's also pro-abortion. Joe Biden is not a practicing Catholic, and he hasn't been for decades because he doesn't give a cent to church teaching. He doesn't believe in what the Catholic Church teaches.
Seamus is a Shiite Wahhabi Catholic.
That's I can see that.
According to Michael Knowles.
But I think that's a lot of Americans. I think it's a lot of Americans, though. A lot of Americans identify as Christian and don't, live out those practices at all. It's because in
a lot of men identify as women,
I know. They don't live out those practices either.
Listen, the reality, it seems like we can identify as a lot more than we could have a few years ago. So I'm going to give someone who's not quite 100% practicing Catholic, I'm going to give them a little bit more slack than the people who are going to force me to say some sort of pronouns that don't make any sense.
Listen.
Biden is trans Catholic. He does identify as Catholic.
Fetterman identifies as a senator. And the response is, and I know it sounds like a joke. No, this is not a joke. I'm being serious. He runs for the Senate. He is not capable of being a senator. I feel bad for him because, he always wanted this. He has a stroke. It's a horrible thing. And I feel bad. And now he still feels, what's happening? What I'm trying to get at when I say he identifies as a senator is much in the way a leftist will go to someone and say, yes, you're exactly what you think you are. They're going to this man and being like, yeah, you're a senator. You're a senator.
Stamp it here. Yep.
When he's clearly incapable, he is not an effective senator.
But the thing, and people don't realize that, and they've been lying to people about this. They knew this about the stroke. They could have had Connor Lamb, who was a congressman, and I don't agree with a lot of his positions, but at least he's present. At least there's a candle. There's a gerbil in the hamster wheel, moving around. Where it's not with him. But they said this is a guy that we can get him to win. It doesn't matter if he's capable of thought because all he has to do is rubber stamp what Chuck Schumer says. And it also talks about the issues with elections. Now I won't talk about elections now. Maybe we'll do it in the later hour because. And again, I won't say anything controversial. But do we really think that the people of Pennsylvania were shown this man? And oh yeah, that's my guy. But listen, or do we think there was a ballot harvesting operation and
there's that joke from, I think what's the guy's name? Was it John Dye? I hope I'm not getting his name wrong. He said, how come if Lizzo is so beautiful, how come women get so mad when I say you look like Lizzo?
Yeah. Yes.
And it's because
she's healthy.
They're lying, right? So this is what I mean. The same people who are going to Lizzo and saying, oh, you're so beautiful, are the people going to John Fetterman and being like, you're a great senator.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They're not being honest with us because they're putting the feelings of the individual who wishes they were healthy, beautiful, or a senator in front of the actual responsibilities of a person in that position.
Correct. Yeah, and this is one of the very sad paradigm shifts that is leading to the slow death of the West. What people used to do is they would encourage you when you were young to try to figure out what you could give to the world. What is your vocation? What are you meant for? What can you provide to others? And then it was shifted towards, what can you do for yourself? How can you prove that you're impressive? How can you be in a position that's comfortable for you? And so what we end up with is a situation where you have someone who is either in steep cognitive decline, as Joe Biden is, but wanted to be the president, or his handlers wanted him to be the president, and so it's mean to tell him he can't, or someone like John Fetterman, who is quite clearly cognitively impaired, but who wants to be a senator, and so no one around him was willing to say, hey, you actually can't do that job.
I don't even know that he wants it.
I don't know that he wants it
to be
either.
fair, then let me add a caveat.
I think he was bullied into it. They're like, this is our best chance, and now you're going to sit there for 6 years and get through it. You don't really have to show up. You can wear shorts on the floor of the Senate and your hoodie.
We love your sneakers.
And again,
they look great.
I'm not one that overdresses. It's not my but I don't know. There's still a respect for that institution, and they don't care about that anymore. That's all gone.
Well, let me just add one caveat to what I'm saying then. You could very much be right that they bullied him into this. They thought he'd be someone who could represent their interests well, and I think that's likely the case even with somebody like Joe Biden. But the American people should be able to see, hey, the purpose of a job isn't to make someone feel special for having that job. The purpose of a job is to provide something to society. This man cannot provide to us as the people what a senator is supposed to provide because he's clearly disabled, right? He's just not meant for that position. There's nothing wrong with being disabled. It doesn't make you a bad person. There's nothing wrong in the moral sense, right? You're not less valuable as a person, but it does mean there are certain jobs that aren't open to you because they require a high degree of competence.
Yeah, I think what you're...
But that's mean.
Yeah.
But that's mean to say.
I think that's true.
Would you let him perform brain surgery on you? Would you let,
I'd end up like him. There are things that he can't do because he is cognitively impaired. But I think we're seeing this happen with Joe Biden, with Fetterman, and we're seeing it with Dianne Feinstein in Congress.
Yeah.
She is old enough where the Democrats are openly talking about maybe she should step down. We know she's not going to seek another term. Maybe she is not healthy enough to continue in her job. But instead, they're like, well, she took 3 months off and we're going to welcome her back. We're going to pretend things are fine. I mean, it is...
She forgot she was gone.
3 years ago, it was known. It's one of the biggest sort of untold secrets of Washington. I know, they're like, oh yeah, she's got dementia. Mm-hmm. It's people in DC, people in power understand that this is the case. They talk about it openly.
They want to hold on to the seat.
Yeah,
that's everyone around them. I mean, this was with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? There was a huge, I think it was kind of a joke, but that she already had retired and all of her staff were writing all of her comments anyways, right? This was something that people joked about. Uh-huh. And I think it's the same thing with as many people. And in fact, if you can have a person like John Fetterman in the Senate seat and get the policy you want through, why wouldn't you pick another candidate who is easily manipulated, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a handler and you can't personally hold public office for whatever reason, but you can find someone who you can basically puppet and get your policies through, why wouldn't you do that? Yeah. Someone else is taking the blows that you don't have to absorb, but you're getting your way. You're holding on to the power.
Well, I mean, it's funny how similar these politicians are to pop stars today. I mean, there's just people behind the scenes writing all of their material for them, making all of the money off of them, and they're just the face of the operation, and they really do run it like a franchise. Once that person is beyond the point of really being able to perform, they hop them up on performance-enhancing drugs so that they can keep doing so. It's horribly cruel.
You guys saw Dianne Feinstein forgot she was gone, right? The big story was that she said, what do you mean? I've been here the whole time. And they're like...
Also, half her face appears to be paralyzed, and we're not going to talk about that.
Minor details.
She was out for pneumonia, and apparently we're not going to talk about anything else.
I wrote about it in my book when I wrote Liberal Privilege. Joe Biden's had 2 brain aneurysms. If you ask any guy, that's a brain surgeon, you ask a neurologist about, the statistical probability of there not being serious issues with 1 aneurysm, it's almost non-existent. With 2, and then when you see it and you see the eyes, and it's just dead.
Or hear him talk.
Or you see the fear. Even worse. When he forgets where he is or can't get off the stage. Because it's not just a little confusion. There's actually a moment of panic, and you see it. And so do our enemies. And so do the people that are making decisions abroad. And it's literally influencing our space in the world right now because, that's the nature of predation, right? Predators see weakness and they pounce. That's what they do. That's a story as old as any living being.
And now Joe Biden is competing with himself to become our nation's oldest president. And, of course, your father is older as well, but I don't really know that we want to elect our second oldest president who already gets lost on stage.
But Trump is clearly younger cognitively, right?
Yes,
like
so
he does
I
not
know guys that are
age
85 years old that can run circles around my 40-year-old friend.
That's not Joe Biden.
Age is a relative thing. And I get it. I'm not just saying that because my father, but like if you sit in a room with my father, it's like, okay, like, he can hold court for 3 hours. You can go on CNN. Like, would you put Joe Biden on Newsmax?
Oh my gosh.
No, you can't send Joe Biden out.
No one would even watch.
Did you guys hear the audio of one of his Secret Service members being like, okay, we're just going to walk here and you're going to stand on that X? Like,
well, he still misses it.
He still misses it.
I think there's a video. I could be wrong, so I don't want to get fact checked. But I think there was one where he's like somewhere. A blind guy literally was like, "No, you have to come over here." A blind man was guiding him, and he still got it wrong. Like
it's the blind leading the Biden.
Literally, yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.